afternoon. This is HorseRacingNation.com handicapper Jared Horek. We're going to do some Pick 3 handicapping for Oaks and Derby Day, and I'm joined by my special guest, Jason Mangrum.
Hey Jared, nice to see you. Thanks for having me.
And we're going to do the Kentucky Oaks, the Woodford Reserve Turf Classic, and the Kentucky Derby, that special Pick 3.
Yep, absolutely. Let's go ahead and get started on Friday, the Kentucky Oaks. Field now of 10 after the scratch of Flashy Gray. Who do you like?
I like actually Midnight Lucky in here. She's really training well. She's looked spectacular in her first two starts, obviously. It looks like there's going to be a quick pace. She's drawn towards the inside. She's going to be part of that pace. But she's training great. She beat Code West in a team drill, and it looks like she's ready to roll.
Yeah, I actually saw that workout online. I wasn't on track personally to see it, but she really did gobble up Code West awfully quickly around the turn and did not get tired. Wasn't even asked down the lane. She's actually my top pick as well, so that might not be the most interesting thing. But we're both trying to beat Dreaming of Julia. Obviously, she's going to be a big favorite in this race after her last win in the Gulfstream Park Oaks.
Yeah, she earned a huge buyer speed figure that day, and then she's going to take all the action. Now, I remember prior to that race, there were questions whether she could handle two turns, whether maybe she was better around one turn, and then all of a sudden she runs one huge race, and then now everybody's all over her, but she's not going to offer enough value.
Well, absolutely. I know she's 3-1 on the morning line. I'd be surprised if you got 8-5. Really.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they're really going to bet her down, and she's obviously a contender in here, but this is a deep field. There's some talent.
Yeah. In addition to the pace of Beholder and maybe Midnight Lucky, you have Rose to Gold. So there's some other options as far as late runners. Number 4, Unlimited Budget. I kind of like a long shot. Number 5, Singing Girl. She has success over this track previously, and I think she's one to throw in for your pick 3s or trifectas or superfectas at a big price.
Yeah, it's always good to look for those long shots that can come in underneath. When you have multiple horses that are talented, that aren't going to offer as much value, another way to look at it is to try to pick the horse that's going to finish underneath and go that way if you're playing those kind of wagers. But for pick 3, pick 4 purposes, what we're doing, obviously Midnight Lucky, we said, Unlimited Budget. Another one has been training well. She's undefeated, and she could sit a good trip right behind the speed.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more.
And Rose to Gold as a long shot maybe can come in too. I think maybe at least she's training well, but I'm not sure. Maybe a couple of, but she's going to offer some value.
I think that with even though she's been working well with the added distance and the hot pace, I think 3rd or 4th at best is Rose to Gold's best chance.
That's probably realistic. Let's go over to the Woodford Reserve Turf Classic. We have Wise Dan and Point of Entry in here. Obviously, they look like pretty solid contenders.
Yeah, actually, even though everybody's going to be on site for the Derby, this might actually be the best collection of horses, even though it's only 2 horses in the race.
And Wise Dan is going to be the favorite, last year's horse of the year. He came back in the Makers 46 mile. He won that one, and now he's going to stretch out to a mile and 1/8.
Yeah, it's kind of the meeting ground, whereas I know Point of Entry won last time at a mile and 1/8. He's more suited to the 1 1/4, 1.5 distances. So this is a good barometer of both horses, maybe optimal distances, at least if they're going to meet on the track sometime.
Yeah, it's probably a good distance, because if it was a 1 mile race, Wise Dan would almost be a slam dunk. If it was a mile 1 1/4 or longer, Point of Entry might be a slam dunk. But this is the right distance to meet. Who do you like it?
I would have to go with Wise Dan. Doesn't appear to be a ton of speed in this race, so he's obviously going to get the jump on any leaders if he's not on the pace himself. And with his closing kick, I mean his final quarter miles and 3 furlong times, it's going to be really difficult for Point of Entry to run him down in the stretch. Though I think these are the only 2 you should use in your pick 3s. I would lean towards Wise Dan.
I'm gonna lean towards Point of Entry in here a little bit. He did beat Animal Kingdom at this distance last time, and I think even though Wise Dan has run well at a mile and 1/8 in the past, all of his races last year on the turf were at 1 mile. So on turf, he's been a 1 mile specialist, and so at this point in his career, maybe he's just a 1 mile specialist. Even though I said he can handle it, he did in the past easily. And you're right, he will get the first run. He's going to be the favorite though, and I'm going to give Point of Entry the slight edge. But let's jump right over to the big race, the Kentucky Derby.
Sounds good. Let's get it going.
I actually like Revolutionary in here. I've been on this one for a long time. He's been my top Derby contender since February, and he hasn't disappointed. He's won 3 races in a row. He's actually won all 3 of his races around 2 turns, and his 2-turn numbers are better than his 1-turn numbers. He's bred well enough to handle a wet track. The inner post doesn't bother me that much because Burrell wanted to get to the rail anyway.
I'd agree with that. That's his method of winning all of his derbies for the most part. I'm gonna go with a favorite. I'm gonna go with Orb. 6 weeks ago when Flashback got knocked off the Derby trail, I went with Orb. Now I'm a little nervous because everybody seems to like Orb. So my big long shot is Palace Malice. In the Louisiana Derby, I know Revolutionary won that race. Palace Malice had a ton of trouble, and even though Jared picked Revolutionary, I don't think Revolutionary would have won that race with Palace Malice getting a clean trip. So he's actually my long shot.
That's a good long shot. And I have a funny story about Orb. It was last September, before I did my Kentucky Derby list. We were living in Louisiana. My friend JP lives out there, and he loves playing the futures. He said, "Who do you like for your future?" I said, "I like this horse called Orb." I said, in his first career start, he was left at the gate. He finished third. I said, "He's one to watch." And then he kind of fell off the radar. He disappointed a bit. But now he's really picked up steam. He's won 4 in a row, and he's also undefeated around 2 turns. His 2-turn numbers are better.
And he's fantastic. And there's only a couple of horses in this race that have seemed to get better as the distances have got longer. Revolutionary is one of those horses. Orb's one of those horses. Normandy Invasion is one of those horses. And even though a horse like Verrazano might be undefeated, his margin of victory is getting shorter as the distances get longer. So I definitely think Revolutionary has a chance, but I like Palace Malice with a little Normandy Invasion, but I like Orb on top. I think that's my picks.
And I like Revolutionary. Orb is my second choice, Normandy Invasion my third choice, and then It's My Lucky Day is one I didn't really like that much, but earlier this year, but he was fast, and then he had that 9-week layoff, and then he ran well enough behind Orb last time, and he's been training or galloping well at Churchill, so he's one that you can maybe throw in.
Yeah, he has tactical speed, doesn't need the lead, and he might get first run on those closers like Orb and Revolutionary. So I would agree he's another one to throw in the mix.
So how are you going to play this pick?
Well, first of all, I'm going to go very wide in the Oaks, and then I'm going to narrow it up with Wise Dan, point of entry, and then I'm going to spread out again in the Derby, hoping to catch a couple long shots, maybe like Sinine Girl and Palace Malice in the Derby potentially. I would play it maybe 2, 4, 5, 8 over 8, 9, and then the 2, 3, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17 in the Derby, and just throw a big net in the Derby and hope you catch a big fish.
You catch a big number, you'll be looking good. I like, in these pick threes, I like the key around horses, so I would key Midnight Lucky in the first leg, and then I'll use all my contenders in the second and the third. Then I'll come back in the Woodford Reserve, I would key Point of Entry, then using all of my other contenders. Okay. Then in the Derby, I would key Revolutionary. So if the Midnight Lucky, Point of Entry, and Revolutionary win, I'll hit it multiple times. If 2 of them win, I'll hit it a couple times. And if 1 win, I'll hit it once. If none of them win, then I'm blanked.
Gotcha.
So that'll wrap up our look at the special pick 3.
All right.